gentlemen, and welcome to another fine edition of Everything is Fine, Nothing is Ruined. As always, I'll be your host, Hassan King. Joining us this week, contestant number 1, from the deep, dark forests of Cape Breton, Tristan Craig!
Yeehaw! Yeehaw!
Alright, Tristan, why don't you tell us about yourself?
I love ham boning! Yeah!
Alrighty!
I married my sister!
Oh, you know, it's
and my dog!
good to see such strong family ties still exist up in Cape Breton.
Trying to marry my uncle, too! Yeehaw!
And contestant number 2, hailing from parts unknown in the southern regions of New Scotland, Kenneth J. Sullivan.
In your intro, I believe that you said that you are always the host, but I believe that that is incorrect. As if you would look back on, say, the last...
All right, contestant number 1, Tristan, up on the board. We've got news. Give us your first choice.
Yeehaw!
Show me potato salad.
No.
Is that on the news?
It's not.
Or what is on the news?
There is no potato salad
Yeah,
related
potato
news
salad
today.
hasn't been in the news since that dumb cake started.
Wait.
Oh, you're right.
Are we talking about the menu or the news?
The news.
Okay, will there be a grilled sandwich in the news?
Grilled
cheese sandwich, right?
I want there to be, but there won't be. Like, if we could have, like, a grilled cheese sandwich news thing, that would be great.
This news is sounding worse all the time.
No, I know. Like, I don't even know what to do anymore, because...
It's pretty bad news.
If it's not grilled cheese... sandwich related, then
Is there at least dessert?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's not great. It's just an apple crumble. Like, it's not really good.
What's wrong with apple
No,
crumble?
apple crumble's great, but, like, it's not good apple crumble.
I don't know. Apple crumble's pretty hard to fuck up, though, right?
Yeah, but they fucked it up.
Oh, man.
They had blueberries.
But, like, there's, like, no...
Oh, yeah, that's weird.
I don't know. You can add field berries to an apple crumble. It stops becoming an apple
there's
crumble, Mike.
goddamn squash in it or something. I don't know.
Oh, fuck that. We're out.
Yeah.
All right.
They put a whole turnip right in the middle of it.
All right, give us
Uncooked.
news item number 1, Tristan.
Let's see. So, the biggest video game news that we have this last little while is that, I guess, yeah, it's pretty big. EA has shut down Maxis.
Oh, yeah, people seemed weirdly upset about that.
I wonder why, son.
I actually don't know.
Well, I mean, they're the studio that created, like, such hits as, SimCity, The Sims.
I get that, but when was the last time anyone was excited for either of those games is the thing.
I mean, yes, people always get excited for those games. The problem is that the excitement often doesn't match the actual...
They haven't actually been solidly good.
I also feel like the excitement is the same as
really
a Sonic level, where it's like, oh man, what if it's like SimCity 2000 again? It's like, it's not gonna be, it hasn't been.
Well, I mean,
Stop trying to relive that glory.
It always kind of has been, but not... It's been...
Yeah, I just, like, I don't know, like, from what I understand, I mean, obviously that last SimCity game ended up being a...
Yeah.
Just...
It was a mess.
Flaming
I'm sure the game was great.
trash.
It's just that no one played it, right? Like,
well, no,
kind
it was super broken and had problems.
Yeah,
and was on fire.
It was good, like, 6 months after its release.
Like, outside of that, like, my understanding is that New Sims is pretty good, but it's also like...
Yeah.
I don't know, it's New Sims, like... At a certain point, trying to make new versions of those games, you end up down this weird forking path where you either continue to just make what those games are and incrementally improve them, a la Call of Duty style, and that's cool, but, whatevs, no one's that super excited, and you honestly need Maxis for that, or the other fork is you just sever all ties to what they used to be, and you just make their spiritual successors, and, like, I think that'd be the super cool path, but, like, the way people reacting is if it's, like, that's a studio that's been pumping out these super beloved hits, like, people are reacting like...
Well, that's the thing is that they do have a lot of beloved hits, but I agree
they're
that
decades
it's
old.
been a
like,
long
this
time
isn't, This isn't like it's BioWare where people are going like, they've still been putting out all these incredible games. Like, this is closer to them, I don't know, shutting down something like...
It's kind of like if id died, then that would be... It's kind of the same reaction.
It's like, I don't know, like... When was the last time they had a good game? It's...
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like you're starting to see this old studio who's been making great games the last few years. Well, 10 years, I guess. go away. So
I think the other thing too is that Maxis is one of the. I don't want to say it's like one of the originals, but it kind of is.
It's got an iconic
really is,
name to
Yeah,
it,
and
and I
that's the thing.
understand people being sad about it going, but it's also like realize that the people who worked on like the SimCity that you played on the NES that you're super in love with, I am sure the majority of those people aren't even there anymore. Like
If
you
you
think
think
about
about
SimCity
SimCity
2000 was 15 years ago. Like some of those people are probably still there. A lot of them, I mean, they probably moved to other parts of that company, other companies, or just straight up retired.
yeah, and in the Sims defense, those games actually, like the Sims games, only really get good about 4 to 5 months after launch, because that's when they kind of roll some of the extra shit out and you get to have more options.
Yeah, like
And
vanilla Sims usually isn't bad, but it's true, you do kind of have to wait for those extras.
And Sims 4 is notably a little neutered because they removed the pools and a few other options as well, so
that they could release them in like later patches or something, or
well,
later
like,
expansions
you
or
don't-
something.
You don't have to pay for the pools at all, they just patched it in. I guess
I mean, you can only
did
create,
they actually patch it in?
Yeah.
You can only create so much content at launch, you know.
Yeah, but this is like removing content that was previously a part of it, though. It just seemed like a weird step backwards.
Pools have always been a big part of the Sims.
That's
We've been drowning Sims since
That-
2000.
But that's part of this generation in general, is that as we have upped the graphics content, the size of the world, the available options of these characters, like factor in the idea that you have to make every sim combination possible now be able to swim and build pools. Like, that is a difficult game mechanic to implement now. It's not like it was in Sims 2, where it's like, I don't know, your character has this shitty swim animation, and who cares if it's broken and they weirdly clip through stuff. Like, now that doesn't stand.
I mean, I suppose so, but like adding a swim animation doesn't seem like a grand endeavor. It's not like it has to be perfect.
It's not that it's just that, it's that all the other... You have to add weird water physics now. Like, there's a million...
Do they have to, though?
Yes.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
they really
they kind of have to,
for
yes.
you, for you they don't. But
Sure,
for like
fine.
hardcore players of those games, which do exist,
Actually.
and the more casual fan base, they're probably going to care about it a bit more too.
That's
Than-
a weird.
enough,
That's actually
yeah.
a very weird statement, because The Sims is seen as a very casual game.
there are
some
hardcore
serious
players.
No, I'm
players
one
in
of
The
them, but at
Sims.
the same time,
There are people who put thousands
Oh, yeah.
of hours into just one single play, and they might even have multiple plays.
Oh yeah,
going.
no, I fully agree. I have played every single Sims game since it's been released. Like I said, back in 2002 or whatever.
I've never fallen in love. But that's probably enough about this. Next news item.
Oh yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
So Prey, Prey, not developers. The developer who made Prey has announced a new game called Lost Within, and it's going to be a survival horror game.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we could probably put that sounds exciting, but I think we should probably put survival horror on the list of things that should take a break.
Yeah.
I mean, it really depends on how they iterate on it.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Anyway,
I just think that,
I think there's a specific style of it that I would agree needs to take a play. What's the name of the guy who made Prey then?
I can't remember, but the studio is called Human Head.
Okay.
And apparently this game is slated to be released this year. So spring.
So it's
summer.
actually the studio that's making it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like the full studio.
Weird.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, that's right.
Because, like, they've also made the Rune games. Yeah, that's right. They did Defiance.
They did.
Okay, I mean, I guess, yeah, if it's the actual studio, because I was going to say, if it's just the one guy, I don't know how much I care. Oh, fuck, that's right, they did one of the Blair Witch games.
They did.
Fuck, those are bad.
I know. Yeah, those are really bad.
I don't know.
I think every studio has to kind of have their start with shitty tie-in movie games.
I mean, yeah, basically.
Yeah.
You gotta make money
Not
somewhere.
anymore,
and
but
those,
you used to.
those games are like cash cows, so...
They are, yeah.
I don't know, could be cool. I never actually played Prey, so...
I didn't play...
I
Well, actually, I played the demo of Prey, so I think everybody played the demo of Prey. And Prey 2 apparently was like the most promising game in the world, so...
It just looks so cool because it looked like you were just like shaking down your bounties in fucking Blade Runner world.
Yeah.
Like everything had like sick neon lights. There's parkour.
Yeah, I was into it.
It looked pretty sweet.
It's called Osaka. It's a pretty neat city.
Oh, okay.
That's actually where they shot a lot of that.
Oh, was it? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. It looked like it looked like it was just straight out of Blade Runner. But
No,
I guess
Osaka kind of looks like that.
He means Blade Runner
Yeah,
itself.
okay, yeah.
Like, Blade Runner was shot in mostly Osaka.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So,
wow, apparently the future is now.
That's right.
Well, the future was 1980 when they shot that.
The future was yesterday.
Really was, right?
Next news item.
Let's see. I will say the biggest news for later, of course, but...
All right.
So, Lucy Lawless is going to be joining the cast of the Ash vs. Evil Dead TV show.
Okay, first off, how dare you?
Lawless?
Xena, warrior princess.
That's her actual name?
Lucy Lawless, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. She's nice.
Second off, they're making an Evil Dead TV series?
Yes, I announced that months ago, so...
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
I guess it didn't really...
Well, you gotta follow the news, man.
I mean, I guess so.
You gotta follow that rabbit. Get in the rabbit hole.
I don't want to follow the rabbit. I don't want to chase the
Well,
rabbit.
follow the Deadite then. Follow the tiny evil Ash.
Oh, man.
Into the bear's hole.
No.
Evil Dead doesn't feel like a thing I want as a TV series.
Now,
I don't...
to be fair, it's going to be based a little more on like the actual Army of Darkness stuff.
Yeah, that makes more sense as a TV series.
Yeah,
because, like, Evil Dead, that doesn't really sound like a TV series. Army of Darkness, that sounds like a TV series.
Oh, yeah.
But they're calling it Evil Dead, because that's the iconic name.
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean,
so that makes sense.
Even Army of Darkness is called Evil Dead Army of Darkness.
Yeah, sure, totally.
Outside of the, like, we love Xena, like, does anyone really care Lucy Lawless is it? Like, does anybody love her as an actress?
Yes.
Like, what else has she done?
She was in BSG for a little bit. She was number 6.
Yep.
Sure.
Yeah, she's been in a bunch of things, actually. Just mostly smaller sci-fi or fantasy things. Let's bring it up right now. But,
she wasn't 6. She was 5. Yeah,
sure. I watched like 3 episodes of that and went, this all seems impossible to follow. I'm out.
That's fair.
You're just throwing around odd words that don't make any sense. And why do we have to find, how did we lose Earth? What is going on?
I kind of really want to rewatch BSG, actually. It's been a long time.
Yep, go for it. So apparently she's in Spartacus. Let's see, she's been in No Ordinary Family. She's been in Angel of Death. BSG, like you said, probably a fairly bad movie called Bitch Slap. The L Word, Bedtime Stories, CSI Miami for 1 episode.
And not even the main
she
CSI.
was in a Dragonlance movie. Okay,
sure.
Justice League New Frontier. She played Wonder Woman in that.
Well, I think it's probably fair. Oh, okay, that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I think overall it's probably fairly safe to say that she hasn't done a whole lot in the past little while. Like that's like a nice list there, but like a lot of those are like one-off bits. It seems, right?
Well, I mean, again, she's in a few TV shows. She's in Spartacus through the entire series,
except for Spartacus. Spartacus is like the most recent thing. Before that, though, like it seems like there's kind of like a drought there. Right?
Spartacus good?
I hear it's pretty good, actually.
Okay.
I hear it's good. I haven't really watched
up.
it.
She's clearly done some stuff. I just feel like sometimes those announcements, people go, oh my god, that's incredible. It's like, because of this thing you liked that someone did 20 years ago?
Well, hey, it just rides on the whole Maxis thing, too. People remember Maxis. People remember Lucy Lawless.
It's true.
Yeah.
Let's see. So moving on.
Yeah.
In some comic book news, we have the fact that so Marvel has announced that Captain Marvel, the Carol Corps, is going to be a series.
Yeah.
Did you say the Carol Corps?
Yes.
Yep.
All I can picture is it's some sort of like the core of Galactus, but instead it's like Christmas carols. It's just like a giant Christmas wreath. What is going on?
As in the core, like CORPS. Not corpse.
No, I was thinking like CORE.
No.
Yeah.
So
totally,
it's like, the core of Galactus, and it's just Christmas carols, and like, oh, okay, that could be cool.
Yeah, sure. But
so do we have much information on this yet?
not at all.
So it's going to be part of Secret War, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so it's coming out of that.
So Secret War's not over? What?
It hasn't even started yet, man.
How long have we been hearing about this?
Fucking months. Welcome to Marvel.
Yeah,
that's what they
Marvel.
do.
I feel like
They start an event in January, they announced an event in June or so, and go like, yeah, even though we have an event going on right now, next event's going to be this event. So wait for
in
this
my head,
thing.
that event has to be over by now. It's like I've been hearing, they're just announcing stuff like, and after Secret Wars, this happens. It's like, cool. What? Is that not over yet?
I want it to be over. Trust me. I hate event comics,
dude.
Like, for the most part, I really don't like them.
I feel like the secret war is that it never even happens, and that's the secret. They've just been lying to us, apparently.
Yeah, fair.
I think the last event comic I was kind of like into was Dark Avengers.
Sure.
And even then, it's kind of arguable if that one was really like an event comic.
Yeah, it'd be kind of cool, actually, if the Secret War doesn't actually ever get released. We never have to read it. But all the changes happen. We just never read it because it was secretive. So
it's kind of like the whole.
It happened secret, so whatever.
It's kind of like the whole thing with the Sentry, where the idea is like the Sentry's been around since like the '60s. You just haven't heard of them because like we erased your minds.
Or all this shit just comes out one day. Like they don't announce it. It all just comes out, and one goes like, "Wait, wasn't Secret War supposed to happen? It did."
That would kind of be incredible. Do it, Marvel. You still have time.
All the characters reference it. You're like, oh man, can you believe what happened to Cap? Like, what happened to him? What? So is anybody? Are they all new characters for the Carol Corps?
Yep, they're all new characters.
Okay. Are they all going to have Miss Marvel Force or Marvel Force or Marvel Force?
I don't know.
I don't even know what that power is. Like Kree power?
Kree.
It's Kree power, yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, at the same time, like they
wait, is it still Kree?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you still have Kree because of the way that the technology mutated.
I wasn't sure. I feel like they don't talk about. I mean, I don't really read Captain Marvel, so I wasn't sure if they talk about it much.
Like pure Kree powers.
They do a bit.
Pure Kree powers kind of remind me of like Green Lantern.
Yeah, they're a little Green Lantern
similar, I guess.
Oh, that said, Nova Corps is the direct comparison there to Green Lantern.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Though I think the Nova Corps is way cooler. Anyway,
I would agree with you on that one.
Hey, they didn't get a Duck Dodgers reference, did they now?
No, sadly enough, because they aren't owned by WB. So there you go.
I'm gonna have to go with Green Lantern because Duck Dodgers.
Look, there's nothing.
Next item. Tristan's wrong.
No,
moving on.
No, fuck you. I refuse.
I'm not getting in between this.
Sure. So, next bit of news. I think it's kind of the biggest news that coming out of this. So, it's not quite a rumor, but it's Marvel has time to backpedal on this. But James Gunn, yeah. So James Gunn was, doing a Q&A recently.
Who's James Gunn?
He's the guy that's running the Marvel movie stuff.
Okay.
Studios. So
isn't that also the name of the guy from like Project Runway?
No.
Okay.
Tim Gunn.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's more than one person named Gunn.
That's right. I actually would prefer Tim Gunn over James Gunn, but that's because Tim Gunn is a total awesome dude.
Oh, okay.
He's a beautiful man.
That's good.
Anyway. So James Gunn let slip some news saying that Marvel and Marvel Studios, assumingly only Marvel Studios, like the movie segment of the show,
sure,
is not going to be at San Diego Comic-Con.
Okay.
No, think about it. That's pretty big.
That is kind of big, actually.
That means that San Diego Comic-Con will probably be a little lighter than most recent years.
I mean, I think that the thing is with
oh shit! I bet I know why. I bet you Marvel wants their own fucking thing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
what I'm thinking too.
Kind of what I was thinking as well.
So DC's actually has been doing their own their own show con for the last few years now. So I think they'll just piggyback off that. But
I think it's just funny because it's like DC's DC, we've been talking about getting our own convention for years. Marvel's just like, hey, let's just start a convention this year.
We just did it.
We just fucking did it. Where DC drags their heels, Marvel just does.
That's the only reason I could think they would pull out.
Yeah, me too.
That said, though, I can't imagine San Diego Comic-Con being too light, because a lot of the times, people usually get their tickets for that shit a long time in advance. You gotta make preparations.
It's true, yeah.
So, odds are it'll still probably have a fair amount of attendance, but I think that'll be a hit to them, though.
I don't think it'll hurt their attendance too bad.
I think Marvel Comics is still going to be there, just not Marvel Studios.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think all that really means is, there won't be exclusive trailers, and there won't be some of the,
So, what that
panels per se. Like there still might be some of those celebrities there. It's
well,
just
what that
panels.
means actually is that the infamous Hall H, the one, like the big giant hall they rent out for Marvel, and has like lines lasting 2 days long.
Fuck yeah!
If you want to go see like a Marvel announcement, that kind of thing, that line is now going to be much smaller, which is going to be actually kind of refreshing for some people that go there. I mean, I've never been myself, but I just imagine going to Hall H is a fucking slog, like a fucking fist fight will happen.
You know what? It's kind of funny. Like, when I was younger, I kind of wanted to go to Comic-Con, like the San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah.
But, like, now that I'm older, it just kind of sounds depressing because you hear about these people who,
right?
They go for this entire event and get to really just do one thing because they really want to see this one thing. Like, they want to see the Firefly cast, like, or like one fucking person, like, to see their Q&A.
Yeah.
And they have to, like, they have to, like, fucking set up tents, like, a week in advance or whatever just to see that fucking shit.
I mean, pretty much all conferences or festivals to a certain extent are like that.
It's
you
true.
know, like Penny Arcade, if you want to play the big stuff, you're going to wait forever. Whereas if you go to the Indie Mega Booth, you can play 50 different games in that weekend.
Yeah, sure.
You know, most concert festivals, you know, depending if you have your tickets in advance or whatever, but like sometimes if you're trying to show up, you know, or even if you do, if you want to be decently close to the stage, it's like, well, you know, let's say the festival goes from noon until 2 in the morning, but the act you want to see is the big act that goes on at, say, midnight. It's like, well, you're probably going to have to show up at, like, 2 or 3 in the afternoon and just stake out your spot there all fucking day. And, you know, it's like, hey, you're going to miss all the other bands you want to see for this one. So, like, that's always the case for the big stuff. So the smart thing to do is basically decide on, like, I want to do one big thing and these 15 other small things.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So that's certainly not exclusive to Comic-Con, but I get what you're saying of the, you know...
Yeah.
Some of the stuff you'd want to go and do. It's like, well, if I do this one thing, I miss 5 other things I want to do.
Yeah. So it's like, it's the quantity over quality thing, right?
Yeah. It also just sounds like a nightmare in terms of volume of people attending, how spread out it is, price of everything, et cetera, et cetera.
There's a lot of reasons why I don't
SDCC is notoriously for being, like, packed as hell.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, like, nerd sweat heaven, if you want to go for that.
Nerd sweat heaven.
Yeah,
Rub it all over me.
Hallelujah.
Alrighty, well, any other news items?
Yeah, no, sir.
Alright, that's 1,500 points for Tristan currently.
Yeah.
Kenny, you're really going to need to make up for this with our What You Doing segment.
I believe that you missed all these bonus
I
points.
swear to God I will cut you.
Oh, man. So, I've been pretty light on What You Doings. I've kind of just been doing the things I've been doing the last couple weeks. That I've reported in the last couple weeks, rather.
Boring.
I know, I'm pretty lame. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I should like start opting out of the What You Doing or something in the future. Because...
No new movies, no new TV shows, video games, comics.
No, so I do have a couple. I do have a couple things.
Brain transplants.
So I have been. I've been rewatching Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Okay, good choice.
Yep.
I always intend to do that. And then always look at it and go, oh fuck, that would be so much time. Which is crazy for a person.
Episodes.
Yeah, it's crazy for a person who's watched how many seasons of Power Rangers, but there's something about it that I look at and go, no, some other time.
I can binge, like, for some reason, I've seen Brotherhood already, but I can binge watch, like, Supernatural, which is like 10 seasons. But when I see that and go like, 65 episodes, I don't want to wait that long.
I think the problem with it is that, like, Power Rangers, some weeks I literally don't watch any Power Rangers. I mean, sometimes I'll go 2 weeks without watching any. But I feel like with something like Full Metal Alchemist, it'd be like, all I do is get home. It's like, I could play video games, or I could watch more Full Metal Alchemist, and I just don't want to do that, of just like Full Metal Alchemist consuming my life.
Well, the thing is that,
kind of
like,
how I would do it.
I tend to sort of multitask. Like, I don't usually just watching something, so I tend to do something with it. So while I'm watching that, I've been doing a lot of like model painting and stuff.
Yeah,
fair.
Just this a week or two ago, for War Machine, the Convergence of Cirrus battle engine just came out. And that's the last thing for the Convergence of Cirrus. So that was actually one of the newest factions for War Machine. They have like a micro faction called the Cephalux, that came a little while ago. But they're like a micro faction. They only have a couple models, and they really tend to sort of piggyback off of other factions.
They got giant brains, yo.
Yeah, well, they're all like mind controlling and shit.
Yep.
Plus, their war machines are monstrosities.
They all kind of like Pinhead, basically.
Any of them flex their muscles and then have sparkles?
No, they don't.
Boring. Tell me more about Alex Louise Armstrong.
Oh my god. So the Armstrong family, just in general, I think is probably one of my favorite fucking parts
when
about
you
that
see
series.
his parents is just fantastic. You're like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
So the one sister is the weird exception to the rest of that family.
Well, no, like his...
is so good.
So, like, in Brotherhood, the mother is actually, like, fairly tall and slender.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And the father looks...
Yes.
Yeah, is, like, he's still pretty tall, but the mother is, like, a giantess. She's, like, gotta be... Like, if Alex Louise Armstrong is, like, 7 feet tall, his mother's probably 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, why did you choose Brotherhood over the original?
Oh, over, say, 2003?
Yeah.
So... I like the 2003 series. I've only ever watched it through the once, though, and I feel like that's all I needed. Whereas Brotherhood, I feel like I can rewatch that. It's just there's so many things. Like when I originally watched Brotherhood, I hadn't read the manga. Or the 2003, not Brotherhood.
Yeah.
When I originally watched the 2003 series, there were so many things where I'm like, oh, that doesn't make sense, or like that homunculus. Like I can't believe that's the homunculus for this sin or whatever. Like there was a few like their mother was Sloth, and I felt like that was egregious. Like not that she was a homunculus, but that she was Sloth
because
she was the most choice. Because she was the most diligent, and that's like the complete opposite of Sloth.
They were working with basically half a script trying to fill in the blanks. So
I know, and also the thing is that like where. Like, half of the series of the 2003 series is summed up in basically, like, 5-10 episodes in Brotherhood. Like, there's so many, like, things that... Oh, and they gloss over the whole, like, they go to the mining town with Yuki. They make jokes about it all the time in Brotherhood, where they're like, the Elbert brothers came and destroyed my totally not corrupt organization of crime in this one little mining town.
Weird half-script stuff. Well, not half, but... they basically were like, this series isn't complete, we have to figure out where the fuck we want to take it, so we don't know.
Sure. And I respect the places that they went with it for sure. But,
I think you should rewatch it. It's weird because, like, I really liked Brotherhood and the manga, obviously, but I also really liked the original, but part of the thing I don't like about the original, especially when it starts coming to things like the movies that came after, is like the original kind of ends on this really like dour note where it's like one of the brothers is dead.
Yeah.
Armstrong's fucking missing his eye and shit. Like it's all this
fucking forgot about that.
Yeah, like it's all this crazy stuff, and then it's like, oh, the movies end up undoing all this weird stuff, or like just the way the relationships were going. It kind of just
what happens at the end of 2003? So Ed is gone to the other world. And he brings back Alphonse.
Yeah.
And then he essentially falls in love with either Winry or Rose.
He falls in love with Winry.
Winry? Okay.
Yes.
Rose is at the end there too, though, because like that old witch lady, like threw her like soul or something into her.
Yeah. I don't. It's weird. Like I like both for different reasons, but I think overall Brotherhood is definitely a better series.
Yeah,
how deep are you into Brotherhood?
I'm pretty close to finish at this point.
Oh, nice.
It's one of those things where you just kind of put it on, and it's like I have my iPad, so like I can walk around the house, and like there's at no point where I ever have to stop watching it. Like I'll just walk to the bathroom, I'll start cooking food, I'll start doing a little painting, I'll start going upstairs or whatever. And
so who's your favorite character from it?
From the series?
Yeah.
Oh, geez, that's hard. If we're not talking about Armstrongs, because Armstrongs are like if there's a top 5 list, they're always number 0. Like they always have to be on that list.
Yeah.
Like the entire Armstrong family. But I have to say before that, I really like Alphonse.
Well, wrong choice. It's Mustang. So what else have you been doing?
That stupid mustache at the end, though. How can you have any respect for that man?
Because it's an awesome mustache.
That's not an awesome mustache.
Kind of is.
Although there's
terrible.
Part of the way through the series, they encounter this guy that looks kind of like Roy Mustang and has that fucking mustache. And I have a theory that he just usurps Roy Mustang and just becomes the new
Roy Mustang.
Just completely in the background. Just happens.
Sure. Yeah. No, that'd be great. So, anything else?
So I've also been listening to the big thing, and I've been sort of holding this off for a while. Is I've been listening to the H.P. Lovecraft literary podcast quite a bit in the past month or so. And so, for those who are not familiar, that's a podcast where they've gone over all the original works of H.P. Lovecraft, including a lot of the stuff that he was ghostwriting for other people, but is essentially his work. Or
Ghost ride that whip.
Ghost ride it. So I got to the point in that series where they ran out of Lovecraft because he died in 1930s. 1935, I think, 1934. Anyway, so he died in the 1930s. So, you run out of material eventually. And it's really interesting. I'd never really taken one, artist, writer, etc., and just sort of, deconstructed every single fucking thing they did. This podcast is really extensive, though. For anyone who is a fan of H.P. Lovecraft, it's definitely worth listening to, because,
for sure.
Yeah, while they're essentially just a couple of jokers like we are, and, they do some research, but maybe, they're not right all the time or whatever, which is, I know, incredible to think that we may not actually be right all the time.
I am, but whatevs.
Well, I mean...
Sure, Hassan.
I mean, so am I.
Sure.
I'm also perfect.
We all know I'm the most right. All the time. But news stories.
But they actually get... they go into such detail in so many things. I've learned so much about that. And just in writing in general, maybe just consider just, literature in general. And just sort of taking all that in, and just sort of understanding what makes a good story, what makes a good tale and such.
Obviously they like to do horror-based podcasts. Have they thought about bringing on the guys that watch Grown Ups 2 52 times in a row to tell them about what true unspeakable horror is?
That is true unspeakable horror,
yeah.
And I cannot imagine... So, Tristan, you've listened to that podcast, right?
Yeah. The podcast is called The Worst Idea of All Time with Tim and Guy. And it's two New Zealand dudes watching Grown Ups 2 52 weeks in a row, and then making a podcast about it.
Because that sounds more terrifying than anything H.P. Lovecraft could write.
Absolutely.
By the way, the true horror is they started season 2.
What the fuck?
What are they watching?
Sex and the City 2.
Oh boy.
Is that known as a terrible movie?
Yes.
Okay, alright, I wasn't sure.
It's gotta be, right?
I mean, I don't think they would watch it 52 times if that weren't the case.
Well, here's the thing. If you watch anything 52 times in a row, it's going to become terrible at some point.
I don't know. It's like one of those things where, a joke goes on too long, and it's it gets to the point where, it's really awkward, and you're just sort of oh man, this is really bad. But then it just slowly starts to become funny, and then it just spirals out of control and being too funny.
Actually, you have a point, because by the end of The Worst Idea of All Time, season 1... that show is much funnier by that point, but the first few episodes aren't really all that great.
Well, because the first few episodes, they're probably just oh god, what did we get ourselves into? What the fuck is wrong with us?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on.
So that's more or less it. Again, with the H.P. Lovecraft literary podcast, I reached the end of the H.P. Lovecraft stuff, and they end up going to a point where they actually start reviewing non-Lovecraft literature, but it was literature that Lovecraft was, from that same time, and stuff that, Lovecraft would have been inspired from and such as well.
Yeah, and that's my preferred point of that podcast, actually.
Scooby-Doo Mr. Ink.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Nothing but.
All
every
Mr.
episode.
Ink, all the time. But the thing is that once it gets to that point, though, it ends up going to a subscription type thing. But the subscription is pretty minor. It's it's $6 for 3 months. It's $6.66 for 3 months. So you're subscribed to them for 3 months. But while you're subscribed to them, you have access to everything. So if you were
so
listening,
this isn't like iTunes downloads or anything.
No, it's a separate sort of.
Okay, because for a second I was like, wait, so they just give you weird, like, here's a 3-month chunk of the podcast. You want the next 3 months? That's enough. Like, what?
No.
Subscription.
So, like, when you're subscribed, you have access to the whole archive. So right now, like, I came into this quite late. They're at, like, episode 275. They start the subscription around 110. So I have, like, 170 episodes to walk through there. So I still have quite a chunk of stuff.
Weird way to do it, but okay.
Yeah, for sure. But, like, there's... I don't know, I have, like, over 100 episodes. I paid about $6. I was thinking about donating to them anyway, and then they hit that subscription thing, and I'm like, you know what? Whatever. That sounds good. I'll do that.
Anything else?
No, that's it for me. I've been pretty bored.
Alrighty, 2,000 points to Kenny for his What You Doing? Tristan?
Thank you, my lord.
He's ahead of you now, so let's see you try and pull it out.
Here is a bag of cocaine.
No, seriously, pull it out. This is really awkward.
I cannot accept that. I'll need you to give that to our executive producer.
I believe that you are winking to the candidate. I don't think that is in the contest rules.
So deeply.
I will have to inform the station management.
Yeah. So, for me, I have not been doing a ton of stuff just because I've been researching for this week's Topicast.
Okay.
And, building that thing. It's going to be...
That horrible thing.
Yeah. It's, yeah. Anyway. But I have found the time to both listen to some new podcasts and also play some video games. So, podcasts I've been listening to recently. One everybody should check out, even though it has a very small update schedule, like a very long-term one. Because it only comes out like once every 6 months, if that. It's called Rodney Spitz PI. And it's
called what?
Rodney Spitz
okay.
PI.
I thought you said Ride Me Spitz PI. What?
No.
Okay.
Rodney
Gotcha.
Spitz PI. It's a show about a detective who is a bumbling fucking idiot. As in, he gets in fights with, like, giant whooping cranes, and he, like, lives in his office because he can't afford a home. And he works in the cheap... He works, like... His fee for an entire case is $40 because he doesn't know money. He's ridiculously stupid. He's like Homer Simpson stupid, but with a gun. So yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that show's pretty good. I've also been listening to Monster Talk Radio.
Oh, Monster Talk is great.
Yeah. It's been awesome. Did you listen to the D&D episode?
No, I've only gotten a few episodes in. They're a lot longer than the podcasts I've been listening to lately. Because the podcasts I've been listening to are like 20 to 30 minutes long, and these are all like the standard podcast hour-long format, like a podcast normally is. So it's been kind of like every episode of those, like I'll get through like maybe one every other day.
Sure.
So I
That's
haven't gotten too far. So far I've listened to the Nessie one, the Yeti one, or not the Yeti, the fucking Bigfoot one.
Bigfoot.
And then Anatomy of a Beast, which was kind of like Bigfoot too.
Yeah, that's whatever, yeah. So some highlights. Listen to the Ancient Aliens one. That one is pretty great because the professor that they have on for that is a total crazy maniac. Like he's still a skeptic, but he swears a lot, and he'll like just call everybody out on their bullshit. Like he really does not like the ancient aliens myth, even though he teaches about it and how it's like he teaches the skeptic side of it all, saying like this is the myth, so here are the reasons why it's not true. So Monster Talk Radio is a show about it's a skeptic show for like myth and legend and that kind of stuff.
They look at cryptozoic or what is it?
Cryptozoology.
Yeah, cryptozoology.
Yep. Yeah. So they look into monsters that we know of, like Bigfoot or Sasquatch or the Chupacabra,
the Loch Ness Monster.
That kind of stuff. So basically, they look into these monsters. The one that got me actually was the werewolf episode. That one was pretty good. But yeah, like that show's pretty good. It's worth listening to if you like to hear the scientific/historical side to monsters.
Because they really actually do quite a bit of work and actually like going back and trying to like understand the time period that like these sort of like myths sort of originated in.
Yeah, exactly.
And then sort of like following that up. Like, I think one of the things that seems to be the most consistent, though, is a lot of the air quotes evidence that we have for a lot of these monsters is very old. Like, it's from like 60s and 70s blurry photographs and
if not older.
stuff. Exactly. So it's just sort of like, this begs the question of like, if everyone has a cell phone, why haven't we seen another Loch Ness monster?
Yep.
Like, why haven't we seen a Sasquatch?
Yeah, like
my fear is more so when like someone will state this fact and then it's just like, well, yeah, they would be right about that if that was actually true. Like someone you'll give like this weird math equation, you're like, that's not actually how math works on it, so that's why we don't have these things, because that's not real math. Yeah, I always love stuff like that, where it's like, oh, well, Bigfoot could be in the forest because blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, it's not how burning calories works at all. No, he couldn't be. It's like, no.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Yeah, so Monster Talk Radio is pretty cool. I also started listening to Darkness Radio, which is kind of the exact opposite, but they take more of the entertainment side of it, so they actually just read or, like, listen to ghost stories. It's an actual radio show.
Yeah.
So people will call in and be like, oh man, I saw a floating thing out in the woods. It's like, oh my god, a floating thing.
How much moonshine did you have, sir?
Probably a lot. But Darkness Radio is pretty good too, but it's not quite the same. Also, Monster Talk has like a sweet-ass fucking like intro song. It's really good.
Yeah, I do actually like their intro.
Yep.
It's pretty nice.
But yeah, so that's all I've been listening to for podcasts. But in terms of video games, I started playing Shadow Warrior recently, like the one that came out in 2013. The game's pretty great.
Is Shadow Warrior Lo Wang?
Lo Wang.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a remake of the 1997 video game, Shadow Warrior. Well, not really a remake per se, kind of a remastering, kind of reboot in a sense, I guess.
Yeah, reboot probably is closest.
So that game's really good. Like, I'm really impressed with it. So, what they do, what Flying Wild Hog does, which they are the guys that made like Hard Reset in those games, they put in just enough of like the serious Sam style combat where they throw too many enemies at you, but give you like really cool stuff to really deal with it. Like they give you like dodge buttons, they give you like little like nuancy fighting game style like maneuvers to put into the combat stuff. They give you magic powers, a lot of guns, upgradable guns. The main draw is the sword combat. The sword combat feels really fucking good. Like, I have not like. You know how like Skyrim went for like a realistic style of like, you know, you do your thing, like you one up your attack, that kind of stuff with your sword combat, but it felt clunky and slow and shitty because it's like it's first person. It doesn't really feel nice.
Yeah.
Well, this game decided like, yeah, no, you can do that, but they just amped it up like times 10 to make it faster and make it actually feel good. So now it's like when you hit a guy, like let's say you're aiming at a guy's arm, and you with your sword, and you step back to like let him do his attack. You sidestep, you hit him in the arm, you chop his arm off, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like it's actually very what's the word for it? Like situational for the damage. So like wherever your sword moves, it kind of like in Metal Gear Rising, in kind of the same sense, where like guys will split into the pattern you move them with their sword. Like when you attack with a sword, they split in that way.
Was that the don't know what to call it other than, because I don't know if it was a DLC expansion or a standalone thing, but the whole janitorial game, was that
Visceral
free?
Cleanup.
Yeah, was that free or did you have to pay?
Free.
Okay, so have you played
that was
any
surprising
of that?
actually. I didn't actually play that yet.
Okay.
But I kind of like the concept of those games.
I've heard it's like a really neat concept, and it's like, oh wait, this is like serious janitorial work. This kind of sucks.
Yeah, you have to go and actually clean up after like Lo Wang and one of like the messy fights.
Yeah,
and it's just like, man,
it's just like you're mopping the blood, and it's after you can only mop so much blood, and then you got to walk over to the bucket and clean it and stuff.
Yeah. And then you got to dump your water out because your water gets gooey.
So how far are you into Shadow Warrior?
I'm thinking I'm about halfway through. So basically, I just got to the point where like I fought the first big boss, which is like a giant like.
No, it's Metal Gear Solid. You really have your video game franchises confused.
The first boss.
Okay. That's also, Metal Gear Solid 3. Still also, have your video game franchises confused.
You're the worst human being alive. So the first big boss is actually this giant Minotaur thing. And the idea there is they're like, yeah. So
what? Why would it be a Minotaur? Isn't that game like, super heavily Japanese skewed?
Yes.
You're wielding a katana. You're fighting ninja-like dudes.
It kind of doesn't matter.
Not to say you can't do that. I just would have figured, it would be an oni or some sort of yokai.
Oh, no.
Something.
So there are tons of those.
Okay.
Tons and tons of those. But the first real big boss is basically like a giant Minotaur-looking dude. The concept there is that an oni actually built this giant suit of armor. And the oni who built it is the guy called Hoji, which is who is your companion throughout the entire thing. So he actually attaches himself to you, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to be your buddy for this entire adventure," but he also kind of hates you. It's a very
yeah, great.
So Lo Wang and Hoji actually pal around and fight demons, that kind of stuff, but they have a bit of a hateful relationship between each other. They grow fond of each other eventually, so it's whatever. But yeah, the game has a lot of really cool weaponry, and the action is just splendid. The jokes are pretty good too. So I was expecting to have some really poorly done jokes, because the original game is notorious for having the joke be, "Hey, my name is Lo Wang. Get it? Low hanging dick."
Lo Wang.
Yeah, and that's still,
I just got that.
Yeah, and that's still kind of in there, but at the same time, it's not as bad. They do the joke once, and they leave it up to that joke just on fortune cookies, and the fortune cookies are great too. You break one of those open, it gives you just a really fucking stupid, awful fortune.
Do you get more than one fortune cookie?
Tons of them. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Perfect.
They are the collectibles in this, but the cool thing with those is that they also give you health back, so they have a purpose. They're also pretty easy to find too. So the cool thing with those is that they give you a little joke every time you break them open. I think there's hundreds of them too, so everyone has a very different joke in it. So yeah, one time I just broke open a cookie. And it just said, "You will be attacked by demons." I was like, yeah, no, that's accurate. Yeah, Shadow Warrior is great. Besides that, I just started playing Hotline Miami 2 today, which is just released today. That game's good, but it has some problems.
How would you compare it to the first one?
I would say the first one is far better.
Ooh.
So the second one is, what it did was make the game bigger. Every stage is now just more, just bigger in general, which is cool, and that's fine. So what they do is they basically self-contain. They give you a giant puzzle to work out for combat, as opposed to making it just one self-contained thing. So now it's contained by section per section, so you can kind of meter out what you're going to do here, and here, instead of just overall the entire place, which is fine. But it kind of breaks the flow of the game, because one of the biggest draws of Hotline Miami is just going for it, and Hotline Miami 2 kind of forces you to think a little more, and that's not as good in a way.
I know what you're saying there, where it's sort of the first game had a good flow where you could just sort of go.
It's that first game made you feel like what you were, which was a coked out maniac just running into a room and pummeling the shit out of everybody.
Yep.
I feel like that might be a thing where I can see a certain sort of person very much so, because it's less so that, and it is more of a think piece.
Sure.
Enjoying the second one much more.
Sure.
I think it's a little bit weird to go for that, because that first game never quite felt like that. The first game felt more like just, I'm just going to run into this room repeatedly until I find the right way in which everything dies, rather than all right, let me look at this for a second.
So you absolutely can't do that anymore, because they now actually will randomize a few enemy placements here or there.
Weird.
Yeah. But it does add a little bit of an element of a little more luck to it, I guess, which is, it feels good when you get through the level, but at the same time it's I just kind of got by that because I got lucky.
Yeah, it's an odd choice because it feels like it takes it in a not necessarily different, because you did at least need to somewhat think, like, all right, let's take this guy out first, but I think it makes it a less frenetic game than it originally was, which is a bit odd.
Frenetic. This game also relies heavily on guns, which I don't like at all. Like, every level has, like, a mound of guys who use guns, just tons of them. Instead of having, like, one guy with a gun, and that's, like, the clinch, like, that's where, like, the hard part comes in. You gotta, like, throw a weapon at him and, like, hit him down and then beat him to death. This is kind of like, no, this is just a whole room with, like, 6 or 7 guys with guns. Everybody in this entire level just has guns. Good luck.
Close them down.
Well, at least they've made it something different rather than just like, here's Hotline Miami 2, more Hotline Miami.
True, yeah, at least they made something different out of it, which is nice. My other problem with it is that, the big draw for me, besides just being more Hotline Miami, was that this game was going to feature, like, the 5 main characters, actually comes with a tag team kind of duo. So it's basically Mark, who's wearing a grizzly mask. He has 2 guns, like 2 submachine guns. Then there's what's his name, Corey, who has a dodge roll. That guy's kind of great because he just like rolls into areas and like punches dudes and like flips out. And then there's also Tony, who has like he kills guys by punching them because he's so fucking strong. So he's got a death blow. Then the other one is Alex Nash, who have like the geese masks. And the cool, like, when I first saw that, like, the idea is that the upfront guy has a chainsaw, and the guy behind you has a gun. So you can kind of switch between, like, your 2, like, clicks, like, you know, left click is chainsaw, right click is gun, and, you know, you get, like, a few little options there, which is pretty cool. The problem with it is that the AI for your the guy behind you is busted. So he's not actually part of your character. So, like, when you're actually moving your dudes around, you're only moving the guy up front.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what they do is make the guy behind you follow you. And he doesn't follow you very well.
Does it matter if he dies or anything, though?
He can't die. You can die, though. Yeah. No.
I don't mind that too much.
It's a problem, though, because what happens is that, like, he will lock on to, like, the only way to use him properly is to lock on to guys. And the levels that give you, that force you to use Alex Nash, require heavy gun battle. So you can't actually aim the guy with a gun via the reticle. He is only aiming in whatever direction you're walking. Or whatever direction he's walking in. So if you've, like, walked left, but he's still facing down because he's trying to move towards your path, he's got to shoot that way. It's kind of fucking terrible. I really don't like the way that character plays. It's not good at all.
Good thing they gave you 4 others.
Yeah, the problem is, though, I'm in a part in the game right now where I'm forced to use that character. And the problem there is that you're forced to use this character. It doesn't play very well. It needs some work. Honestly, if they just had like make the gun guy go off of your reticle as well, that'd be fine, but I don't know. Other than that, the game is actually pretty good. It still feels like Hotline Miami. It is frenetic, it's fast, except for the parts where you have to slow it down a little bit, but no, there's a lot to like about it. So, that's it for me.
Alrighty, well, we're going to give you 500 points. You'd get more, but there was no Alex Louis Armstrong in your segment. Moving on, it's time for me. So to start with, I've actually continued to play Metal Gear Rising, continuing to like it the more I play it, even though it still has some really frustrating things.
Fair.
But the more I get used to them, the less aggravating they are. Still pecking away at Fire Emblem Awakening. I think I'm getting close to the end, but I'm not quite sure.
I'm kind of shocked you haven't finished that yet.
So, I haven't finished that because
it's a big game.
It basically requires you to do a grinding to get to see a lot of the character interactions, and because I want to see most of those, it means that I am straight up grinding characters I have no intention of using in other battles.
Oh, of course.
And you can't replay specific battles. Basically, there's kind of a, like, almost like Mario-style overworld map. And basically, the enemy is just represented by like a single guy standing on top of the dot for that specific map area. And they kind of pop up like basically 3 times per day. It'll rotate where they are, and you basically like you don't get to choose where they are, so they'll randomly pop up in spots, so you can't just like sit there for 6 hours grinding stuff. Once you've beaten, say, the 2 guys that might be on the overworld map, you then have to wait until kind of the middle of the day where they pop up again, or the evening where they pop up again. So it's not the easiest game to super grind away with. I'm also like way over leveling my characters, like basically going for like max stats on all them, doing all the weird side stuff. Like if I wanted to beat that game, I probably could have done it in under 30 hours.
How are all of your children's IVs?
They don't really have... They sort of have that in this. It
is you do EV training then? Or?
It's similar to that, actually. I didn't really give a fuck about that, but that is there, and people are very serious about it.
Oh my god.
The new thing I started to do was to play Valiant Hearts.
Oh, yeah.
That's a really interesting game.
Sure.
Gameplay-wise, it's not that great. It plays fairly simple, which I don't necessarily mind because it's kind of a point-and-click thing, and I'm not really a huge fan of point-and-click, so having it be simple is nice.
Sure.
But, like, it's a good-looking game, although it's not... sometimes when it zooms in on some stuff, it's noticeable that even though it's a cartoon and you figure they should be able to make it 1080p real easy.
Yeah.
It's not.
Really?
I should just say 1080 because no such thing as P anymore type thing. But it's still a good looking game. Really great art style. It is the perfect example of what we were complaining about last week, where you can have very sad and heavy things, very adult things, without them being grim. Because this is set in World War I, and it just a very sad, very dour story. It was not grim. It doesn't need to be dark. I mean, it's cartoony, for God's sake. Really likable characters.
I hear that, actually.
So, I know one of the things people really love about it, and the thing that I like about it, is that if you press the space button when you don't have anything in you, you just end up petting the dog. But the thing that I like is that each character says a different thing when they pet the dog.
Sure.
So when that first happened, I was just like, oh wow, the French guy actually says it in French, and the English guy says it in English. And I don't know if the German guys met the dog yet, but all these characters will end up saying stuff in their different languages, even though they're sort of speaking Simlish almost.
Okay.
But it's like, that was totally French Simlish.
That's awesome.
Yeah, just it's really enjoyable, but super fucked up. And like the collectibles in that game, like half of them are just kind of dumb collectibles in some way.
Sure.
And the other half, you're like, oh, that's this fucked. Like one of them is like, hey, this is a pea-soaked rag because for the first like
mustard gas
6 or 7 months, that's the only way we knew how to fight chloroform.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's Whew, that's dark. I'm just gonna quit out of this game and go do something slightly less depressing. Or it'll be like, hey, here's this wooden box that people used to keep their biscuits in because they were afraid to leave them in the trenches because everyone was starving and wasn't above kind of jacking someone else's biscuits.
True.
Like,
so I have in kind of the same vein, I've purchased The Gods Will Be Watching.
Yeah, I own that. I haven't gotten around to playing it yet.
Yeah, I'm going to play it at some point, but I'm in the same idea. I'm getting like anxious to play it because I'm like, I know that game is pretty dark. Not dark in the same way that we discussed last week, but it's dour and grim, and more about your life choices per se. So, is Valiant Hearts reflective of that at all, or is it just about the actual puzzling nature of it?
I mean, you don't get choices. It's a straightforward story. There's no choosing. The story plays out as it plays out.
Well, that's not a problem then.
It's like I say it's a point and click, but it's like 90% of the time you are just going left or right. Like you don't. There's only a handful of puzzles so far that have involved like multi-screen things, and like it has a hint system that I haven't had to use yet. But my understanding of it is like if you basically like click it twice, it'll just fucking tell you like, yo, put the item in your hand right here where this arrow's pointing, son. So it's not supposed to be a difficult game. It's all about just the setting and the storytelling.
That's fine.
Yeah, like really enjoying it, but man, is it fucked up. And then, okay. Yeah, I'll just go into the other fucked up thing I did, and that'll probably be the last thing.
Sure.
I watched Noah, the 2014 movie.
I'm waiting for this.
I
discussed it already. This movie sounds fucking terrible.
I don't know. It's good.
Are you fucking with me?
No. So I really enjoyed...
Like, you were live tweeting that shit, and that did not sound like a good movie.
I really enjoyed my time with it. It's just really... So... It's obviously the story of Noah and the Great Flood and the Ark.
No.
But the first 15 minutes of that have no idea what's going on. Like, there's weird rock golems that are fallen angels, and apparently Tubal-Cain's people are searching for magical beads in the ground, and there's snake skin that means something, and then there's a magic wizard on a mountain with a fire sword.
Yeah, what was up with that? Like, does that have any religious significance?
Yeah, Malakesh, was that his name? I want to say that's his name.
Okay.
Apparently, it's Noah's grandfather, and apparently, dude is some sort of biblical character that I can't remember if he had the flaming sword, but apparently there is like a flaming sword in the Bible. I don't know if it does what it does in this movie, which is the prototypical, he puts it into the ground and just a wave of fire shoots out and destroys all his enemies.
Apparently a wizard heals Emma Watson's infertility, according to you.
Yeah, he's kind of a magical MacGuffin for the movie.
Okay, sure.
My favorite part of the movie is that there's a character called Ham, which is apparently canonical to the Bible, but it is great just having multiple characters running around a forest going, Ham! Ham! Where are you, Ham?
That kind of reminds me of a friend of mine always said that he wanted to name his dog Titties, so that he could go to the dog part and be like, here titties, come here titties.
But like, I would say the actual like worst part of the movie is just straight up. It's about 2 hours long, and I think it's around the like hour 10 mark is when the flood happens.
Whoa! Wait, what? It takes that long for the fucking flood to happen?
Yeah, and
how
it's
much
actually
fucking
once the flood happens is where it kind of gets a little bit boring. It picks it up again afterwards, but like, it's a weird movie. It feels like if you took out the Noah elements of it, it would just be a weird fantasy thing that would be way cooler.
You know what, though? So, they should have actually split it up into 3 movies, and I was really glad they put some of the extended lore into it.
Yeah,
and it was a good idea to throw in that female character, but she really just became a love interest for this love
that is fair. But like, one of the really cool things in it is that in it, Bibles are basically made out of, like, pure energy / light.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Okay. Yeah.
Wait, what? Okay, sure. Fine.
So,
fine.
And
fine.
this is also, so there were these angels that were upset at God and over how he treated Adam and Eve, and they tried to come down to Earth to help them, but and how does he word it again? It's real cool wording where he says, as punishment, God coated them in the earth to which they came, or something like that. And basically what it is that they end up becoming rock golems because when they hit the earth, it melts over them, and then, supposedly God basically goes like, all right, well, now you are just covered in earth, so, like, angels become weird, fucked up looking rock golems.
That's kind of cool, actually.
It's super cool, like...
Yeah, I'm really glad they left the troll scene in there, but...
Wait, when does Noah go over the waterfall in the barrel?
Yeah, when does Noah go over the waterfall in the barrel? When does that happen?
Never.
Damn it!
When do they fight the dragon?
But they're this flat, I saw.
There's a weird dog chimera at the beginning that confused the shit out of me.
Yes.
It's like, what?
Brother, play with me, brother.
Does he show up in the... What? Are there chimeras in the... What? It's...
I mean, chimera is such a weird thing now, because, like, it's... Like, there's obviously the chimera.
Yeah.
And then there's just the, like, chimeras as, like, a creature. It's just, like, an amalgam-type creature.
Yeah. It's... The entire movie feels like such a weird fantasy thing that if you just remove the Noah name, if you removed the parts about it being the Ark, you would not know it had anything to do with that story.
So is there, like, 2x2 animals that get on this giant ark?
Yeah.
How do they visualize that? Like, how do we get 2 of every single fucking animal? Like,
they just... So...
Well, I guess what I'm asking is how many beetles did they bring with them?
the mountain wizard, basically gives him this seed that he plants in the ground, and that, like, 30 seconds later, this giant forest just springs up in this fiery, or in this ashen wasteland, this giant forest, and this river basically then, I don't know if it goes all around the earth or something.
It just fucking appears.
But the animals then just, like, follow the river, and they all basically just show up at once.
That's the stupidest fucking thing.
Yeah, again, it's the weirdest goddamn... Like, totally watch it.
I just love that because, like, part of the story of Noah is the toil and the work he puts into making the ark, is it not?
So
is that not part of the story?
He does make the ark, but
sure.
It basically goes from this. He plants the seed, forest blooms, jump cut something like 15 years later, and the ark is mostly done.
Oh, so he's still actually... I thought you meant that the ark was, like, just grown out of trees, instantaneously.
No.
Okay.
That being said, he doesn't... It seems like the golems probably did the majority of the work.
I see. So he's lazy.
No.
So Noah is rewarded for his laziness. It's a faulty god.
So there's this thing that comes up later where he basically wants to wipe humans out of existence because he thinks it's what God wants.
Wait, Noah does or God does?
Both? Question mark.
So Noah,
God never actually speaks to Noah. He just sees shit. I mean, he's right. Like, the flood does come, and obviously the animals come and stuff.
Yeah, yes.
But he just sees these weird dreams, and one of them is when the wizard guy gives him special tea. So, assumedly, that's just a drug trip?
Special tea, huh?
No, it's actually like the guy calls it a special tea.
Pink elephants.
It's weird. Watch it.
Tea with weed.
I actually enjoyed it, but
tea.
Legitimately, the just constant confused. Or like, is this? Is this in the Bible? What's going on?
What was the point of this movie then? Like, it sounds like they've gone pretty far away from what Noah, the story of Noah, is
to make you think that the Bible is some awesome storytelling?
Is
question mark?
Was this awesome?
I liked it.
Is this like the equivalent of like a Christian rock band trying to tell you that God's pretty cool?
So it's ministry.
Cool, no, this is closer to
Skater Priest.
Like Led Zeppelin singing
the priest who's on the skateboard.
No.
Like, God is awesome.
This is more like Led Zeppelin singing about Lord of the Rings, where you're like, this. I mean, yeah, these were things that happened, but this is some weird stuff going. Okay, yeah, no, I can get behind this.
All right.
Fair
but
enough.
that's all I had to do, and so with that. Looks like a song gets 4,000 points and is once again our winner. We'll see you all tomorrow for round 2.
No, that can't be correct because you're the host. The host is not...
Anyway, while Kenny is choking on blood, make sure to, like and favorite us and do that, all those kinds of things on iTunes, subscribe, and leave us a review. And click on our Stitcher link to go and listen to us on Stitcher. That's a good idea, too. Yeah, we're also on other things like YouTube and that kind of stuff, too.
All right, bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye, life.